podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Hey guys, welcome to another week here on Ring Around The Rosie. I'm Kim Brown, aka Platinum Rose Lady, talking to you on Wednesday, February 14th, 2018. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. I hope everybody had a great Valentine's Day. And also, Happy Ash Wednesday, which sounds really weird. It's not really the kind of thing where you're like, hey, have a great Ash Wednesday. That just sounds wrong. It just sounds incredibly wrong. It's a really rare thing, obviously, for the, holiday like Valentine's Day, which is all about love and romance and fancy dinners and things like that, to coincide with Ash Wednesday, which is a Catholic holiday for, the beginning of Lent and repentance and reflection and sacrifice and stuff like that. I think the last time it happened that these were on the same day was like back in the 40s. I think I heard that somewhere. So it's kind of weird. I feel kind of bad for a lot of the restaurants around where I live, because there's a predominantly high amount of Catholics around here. So there's not going to be a lot of people going out to fancy dinners because you have to fast and all that kind of stuff. If medical stuff, it's cool medically for you to do that. But it is Valentine's Day. So if you're somebody's Valentine, I hope they got you something nice, and I hope you got them something nice back. I would like to say a very happy Valentine's Day to my fella, TC, who is an awesome person and very smart and incredibly patient for putting up with me and all of the, various and sundry insanity things that I bring into our relationship. Yay! He's a really great guy. So, anyway, it's going to be kind of a shorter show this week, I think. I figured this week one thing that I'd talk about that really is important to me, and I think it's important to a lot of people, is music, especially music when it comes to wrestling. I am of a certain age. I hate doing that to myself. But I remember, back in the day, when wrestlers used to use, already established songs to have entrance themes to and things like that. For a long time, the Freebirds claimed they were the first people to do this. They were probably one of the first people to do it with a rock song. Obviously, Lynyrd Skynyrd's Freebird, one of the best songs ever. But I do know that, way back in the day, that Gorgeous George, one of the first wrestlers, it really took off with the audiences and really established the whole flamboyant wrestler gimmick. I believe he used Pomp and Circumstance, which was also later adopted by the late great Randy Savage, and probably makes at least one person snicker during a graduation ceremony, because you're going, hey, I remember that. I know it did to me, but anyway. Back in the day, a lot of, the wrestlers, and when they would have an entrance theme and stuff, they would use music that was already out there. They didn't have people writing music for them. So, you got used to hearing certain things in certain songs and identifying them with certain wrestlers, which was kind of cool. I mean, I know that nowadays, they, in WWE, they use music that they write. They have somebody write the music and perform it and all that. I have to be honest, I kind of miss the old days. But if you go to the independent shows, indies still, use other people's music because they don't get sued. They're not on TV, so they're not going to have somebody out there saying, hey, that's my song, you have to pay me, So that's, I think that does kind of suck that whole aspect of it happened, because it was fun, way back in the day. I remember, I'm trying to think of some of the songs from way back when, with the WWF F at the time. Obviously, the big one was Hulk Hogan, whose entrance theme used to be Survivor's Eye of the Tiger, which made sense because he was in Rocky III, and that's where a lot of people knew him from. So, that makes sense. The Junkyard Dog used to use the Queen song, Another One Bites the Dust, which was great. I'm an enormous Queen fan, so I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Some people have always used their own kind of entrance music, but they've used other songs in, music videos about them, trying to, show how, like aspects of the character and things like that. A great example of that is someone that I always seem to come back to eventually, The Undertaker. The Undertaker's music, for the most part, his entrance music has been, on a variation of the funeral march, making it more grand and swelling and epic and using all kinds of, sound effects in the background like lightning and all this other stuff like that. But when they've done just videos for The Undertaker about him, I think, they did some great ones with, songs like, Ain't No Grave Gonna Hold My Body Down and When the Man Comes Around. Those were great. Those were so awesome. And sometimes you wind up seeing it in a video that's done, unfortunately, it's done because someone's passed away. I mean, I cannot, to this day, listen to the Johnny Cash version of Hurt, the Nine Inch Nails song, and not think of Eddie Guerrero and not tear up a little bit. Of course, songs make me cry anyway. Some songs make me cry, and I don't, some songs make you cry, and you know why they make you cry, because they're sad, or in the case of Danny Boy, if you're Irish, because, and I'm part Irish, so don't yell at me. I can say that because I've been places where Danny Boy's played and people just start crying and I'm like, okay, all right, but just some songs make you cry for no reason at all. You don't know why you cry. You just cry. For some reason, one song that does that for me, and this is gonna sound weird. Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. I don't know what it is about that song that makes me cry. I don't know, but it does. So just little side journey into my psyche, I guess. Getting back to music, I'm thinking about all the different people that have used, and this and that for the other thing for entrance music. One that I always liked, and I liked it because it just, well, for one thing, I love the band. Brian Pillman, when he was still a face in WCW at, I don't think they'd become, no, they might have still been NWA at that point. He used to use Def Leppard's Rocket back when he still wore the tights with the stripes, the Bengal stripes on them. I always thought that was cool because, he was such a high flyer, and I was a huge, and still am, huge Def Leppard fan. I thought that was just awesome. Obviously somebody like Kerry Von Erich, with the whole Tom Sawyer thing from Rush, with the whole Modern Day Warrior line, that's what they called him, and that was cool. That's a cool song anyway. It's weird because some of these songs I'd never heard until I became a wrestling fan. I had never heard Tom Sawyer until I became a wrestling fan, and I was like, wow, this sounds really cool. And I had people around me who were like, are you serious? It's like, that song's a classic. Where have you been? And I'm like, sorry, didn't know that. Okay. Whatever. And obviously some people have used, like, it's weird because, you have a song like, and that was actually done first as a classical piece. Obviously, when you talk about music like that, you have to talk about Ric Flair's theme, Also Sprach Zarathustra. And I know I probably butchered that. So, surprise. Which most people actually probably just went, what did she just say? That's actually the correct name of the music that begins 2001: A Space Odyssey. So, the more you know. That's just another quick sidetrack. I have never been able to sit through that movie. Has anybody out there who's listening to this podcast ever been able to sit through 2001? Because I've tried more than once, and I get about 15, 20 minutes in, and I'm like, nope. I'm like, nope, I quit. I'm out. I just can't. I don't get it. It's hurting my head. I'm out. But I keep trying. I figure one of these days I'm going to finally figure out why everyone says this movie is so freaking brilliant. But anyway. And you obviously cannot talk about music in regards to wrestling and not talk about Extreme Championship Wrestling, because they had some, they probably owed AC/DC a lot of money, because it seemed like every other song, somebody's entrance theme was AC/DC, which I just thought that was hilarious. The Dudleys used Highway to Hell, and Chris Candido and Lance Storm used Back in Black, and Balls Mahoney used Big Balls. I think somebody used Thunderstruck at one point, but I might be wrong about that. I know the Pitbulls used Thunder Kiss 65 or whatever it is from White Zombie, which that was a great song. The one that I never got, and I was like, okay, I don't get this at all, was the fact that Mikey Whipwreck, his theme music was Butthole Surfer's Pepper, and I was like, I don't get this. I mean, maybe it's just me, and maybe it's just because it sounds dirty, Butthole Surfers, I don't know, but I was like, all right. Tommy Dreamer using Man in the Box, which I don't know why that worked, but it worked. It really worked. It worked so well for his character. And of course, the Sandman. I mean, you can't talk about ECW and music and not talk about the Sandman and, you know, his entrance to Metallica's Enter Sandman, which was just incredible. And long. You know, it takes a long time to smoke and drink and walk through the crowds and dump beer on people, but you're doing it to Metallica, so that makes it cool. I guess. I always liked Taz's entrance music in ECW, War Machine by Kiss, which wasn't one of their bigger hits, but I thought it fit his character really well. When Taz came to the WWF, and they started using this kind of not version of War Machine, I mean, it sounded kind of like War Machine, but not. I was like, I was like, oh. That's another thing about wrestling and music that I've never quite got, was the whole almost songs. That's what I call them. I didn't really have any other name for them. Songs that almost sounded like something else, but weren't quite there yet. WCW was notorious for almost songs. Raven's entrance music sounded an awful lot like Pearl Jam's was it Even Flow, or was it Come As You Are from Nirvana? I forget. Chris Jericho's music at one point, to me, I don't know about to anybody else, it might just be me, sounded like the Pretenders' Don't Get Me Wrong. Almost. Not quite. No, DDP was the one that it sounded like as close as you could get without getting sued to Smells Like Teen Spirit. That's right. I knew I'd think of the right way. And I have to be honest, and I've thought about this for a long time, and I've never actually vocalized it as far as I know to anybody, so this might be a first. I don't know why, and I can't honestly say it's exact, but for some reason, Bill Goldberg's entrance music, at least in WCW, and I couldn't even tell you why this is, it reminded me of the old music that they used on the original Battlestar Galactica. Yes, I watched it. Yes, I was dumb. Yes, I had a big crush on Richard Hatch. But I don't know why I don't know why. Every time I heard his music, I was like, I just keep having Battlestar Galactica flashbacks. I don't get it. Just thinking about other people that have used cool music. The Road Warriors, obviously, using a song like Iron Man from Black Sabbath. That's just too cool. I mean, that's just way too awesome. I mean, there's so many people, and like I said, the indie feds can still get away with that stuff. I loved that, oh, I can't think of the title of the song now, but it was a Dave Matthews song that, Soldier Ant and Army Ant, the Colony, that they would use, sung by Dave Matthews Band, I think All the Ants Come Marching or something like that. And that's the line in the song, and they get this whole ant gimmick, which oddly enough is really entertaining. I mean, besides the fact that these guys are, crazy good wrestlers, that whole colony gimmick just cracks me up to no end. It really does. I'd love to know what your favorite music, what's been used that you really liked. I mean, is there anything that, I gotta tell this one story though. When I remember watching it on TV and just being like, how that dude got out of the arena and not flayed alive that night, I don't know. When Louis Spicoli, the late Louis Spicoli, came out to the ring in ECW to Mbop by Hanson, and I was just sitting there like, my jaw just dropped. I was like, oh no. Because the crowd, you would have thought everybody in the crowd had rabies. They were so ticked off. I mean, I definitely think that, music has a way of it can really help a character. It can hurt a character too. If somebody has a theme that doesn't really work right for them, and it doesn't fit. It's like everything. If it doesn't fit, it takes away from the character rather than building it up. There was a wrestler that, unfortunately he's no longer with us. He worked the local feds in this area. His name was Chris Duffy. He went by Chris Duffy, handsome Chris Duffy. And, I remember this because I remember sitting there going, are you kidding? Are you kidding? He used the theme to the Brady Bunch. I am not making that up. And, oh man, people would flip. People would completely lose their minds. They wanted to see this guy get ripped to bits. And he was really good at playing that kind of a character. I could totally see that happening now if somebody played, somebody like, if you had a heel that was doing a really, kind of smarmy, cowardly, cheesy heel kind of gimmick. If you had somebody come out to something like Baby from Justin Bieber, or actually any Justin Bieber song, because that would make me boo somebody. I would start booing them instantly. I can't really, Nickelback. Yeah. Anybody who came out to Nickelback would probably be taking their own lives in their hands. If you go by the way Nickelback is hated on the internet, which I'm not a fan. I mean, I think I could, if you asked me to name a Nickelback song, I think I could name one. And that's about it. But I don't understand all the hatred online anyway. But I think if you had a wrestler that was, in the indie feds or something that was looking for a theme that would tick people off, I definitely think you could probably make a few people mad with Nickelback, or like I said, Justin Bieber, something like that. I'd love to know what you guys think. I mean, what music really do you think fit a specific wrestler, or do you remember hearing something that you were like, nah, that doesn't really work for that person? I'd love to know. PlatinumRoselle@yahoo.com, and I hope you will answer my little question there. And if you do, I will read it on the air, and you'll be famous for all of 2.5 seconds, and that's something. Before we get into the results for SmackDown and Raw this week, I would like to say congratulations to Ivory, who has been announced as the next inductee into the 2018 WWE Hall of Fame. So that's very cool for Ivory. It's funny because I'm really sorry, Ivory. I'm not trying to make either of us sound old, but I remember when Ivory was a member of the actual Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling TV show. And she was called back then, Tina Ferrari, I think was her name back then, and she was a tag team with this other young woman, and they were like, Hollywood jet setter, rich types, but they were nice. They were the faces, and they were nice. And I've always liked Ivory. I think she's a very talented person. She's great on the mic, and she's a very pretty lady. So congratulations to Ivory for joining the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2018. Very, very, very cool. That brings us up to the Raw results for this week. Coming from, I don't remember where it came from this week. I'm sorry. We started the show with, San Jose, California. Raw and SmackDown both were from California this week. We opened up the show with John Cena talking for a little while, then being interrupted by The Miz. And The Miz Taraj jumping on John Cena, which brings out Kurt Angle. Earlier when Cena and Miz were snapping back and forth at each other, Cena made a challenge to Miz to wrestle in a match that the loser of the match would be the first superstar to go into the Elimination Chamber, which is going to be at the pay-per-view on February 25th. Kurt Angle came out, said that sounds like a great idea, made the match for that evening, and also banned Bo Dallas and Kurt Axel from being there at ringside. So, we got that match first, and John Cena winds up winning. Surprise. Which suits me just fine, because I hate The Miz, which is really the point of his character. I do understand that. Following that up, we had Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows versus The Revival. The Revival wound up winning, and yet I still don't care. I'm sorry, I just don't. I keep trying to care about these guys. I keep telling myself that I should care, or at least fake it, but I just can't do it. Just can't. Kurt Angle came out with some announcements, announcing that Ronda Rousey would be signing her contract for Raw at the Elimination Chamber match. He went on to give some news that's more of a downer, that being that Jason Jordan has had to have neck surgery, which he actually did, and is not going to be able to make it to WrestleMania. After the announcement, a whole bunch of fans started applauding and doing the yes chant and basically being jerks. Stay classy, California. Out comes Seth Rollins, talking about how he went through all the things that he went through, including missing WrestleMania the following year after he won at WrestleMania, in WrestleMania 31. And he manages to get Kurt to make the Fatal 4-Way match a Fatal 5-Way match. Kurt asks the audience if they want Seth in the match, and the audience is, of course, like, yes, we do. So now the Fatal 4-Way is a Fatal 5-Way to find out who will be in the final Elimination Chamber pod for the Elimination Chamber match. We had Bayley versus Sasha Banks, which came about, I guess, because of all the snipping and sniping that they were doing online. Oh, come on, guys, you're friends. Don't do that. That's not cool. We wound up with Bayley winning over Sasha. And then we had both Bayley and Sasha being beaten up by Nia Jax. I was like, all right, that's okay. That really was not very nice. Tag team match following that with Mickie James and Alexa Bliss as a tag team. Okay. Against Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose from Absolution. I'm sorry. Didn't Mickie James and Alexa Bliss have a really nasty feud not all that long ago? Or did the meds finally kick in and I missed something? I I don't know. The end result being Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose winning over Bliss and Mickie James, which really isn't all that much of a surprise, really. Elias came out next to do his whole thing that he does that I can't stand. I would rather walk into an abattoir than walk with Elias, to be honest with you. But we wound up with something else happening, and that being Braun Strowman, who has decided that he's going to do his own musical thing. Fantastic, Braun, you be you. And he decided to be him by kind of mocking Elias's whole look, you know, the pretentious hipster douchebag look, with Braun with a spot, you know, sitting on a stool, spotlight on him, and he's got a cello that he's got hoisted up on his lap, playing like it's a guitar, at least until he broke the strings. And it was actually pretty funny. I thought it was funny anyway. For one thing, I didn't realize that Braun had such a nice singing voice. He really does. I was impressed. I was like, damn, he's got a nice voice. Eventually, of course, the cello wound up being used to batter Elias. I guess it's a good thing he didn't use something smaller, because that would have been gratuitous violins. I'm so sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I do puns. I can't help it. I'm sorry. We had Roman Reigns versus Sheamus. And this got ugly. I mean, this went all over the place, and it was ugly. It was fun to watch, but still, it got nasty a couple of times. With Roman Reigns getting the win over Sheamus. Yay. And then we get the complete what the heck is going on, where are we supposed to look, I'm totally confused match of the evening, which now even got more confusing, since we have Finn Balor versus Apollo Crews versus Bray Wyatt versus Woken Matt Hardy versus Seth Rollins. Okay, well, I've had dreams about two of these people. I'm sure you can figure out who they were, and I'll give you a hint. One of them was not Bray Wyatt. The whole thing boiled down to what was ruled a no contest, considering the fact that Finn and Seth both managed to pin Bray Wyatt at the same time. So I have no idea what that means. I mean, I'm not sure if it means we're going to get another match next week with maybe Seth and Finn wrestling to see who's going to be the one that makes it to the Elimination Chamber, or if we're going to have Seth and Finn put in the same pod at the Elimination Chamber. And man, I can think of some people who would be very happy with that. You can just hear the fanfic starting, can't you? Oh, don't deny it. You read it too. Which brings us to the SmackDown results for last evening, also in California, and in Bakersfield. The show was supposed to begin with Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin. That didn't happen because Corbin was beaten up backstage by Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I don't really know. I'm not entirely sure how I'm supposed to feel about this, because I'm like, well, I know I should probably feel bad because, you know, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are a couple of jerks, but, you know, I'm sorry. I'm like, Baron Corbin's a dick. I'm just like, why am I supposed to feel bad about this? We got a Charlotte Flair versus Sarah Logan match, which was, you know, pretty, I mean, considering the people involved are, you know, top-notch performers, it was very, very physical. It came out with Charlotte winning via pinfall. We wound up with Baron Corbin versus Kevin Owens because of what had happened at the beginning of the show. thanks to Shane McMahon announcing that Dolph Ziggler would be taking on Sami Zayn and Baron Corbin would be facing Kevin Owens, with the stipulation that if either Dolph or Baron Corbin won, they would be added to the championship match, which is scheduled for Fastlane. The result of the match was Baron Corbin winning over Kevin Owens. We had the United States Open Challenge. Try that again. The United States Championship Open Challenge with Bobby Roode as champion, obviously, and on the mic talking about the whole thing that happened with Randy Orton last week. And lo and behold, you as the saying goes, speak of the devil and he appears. Here's Randy Orton, who wants to take the challenge to try and get the United States belt. Unfortunately, we had Jinder Mahal come out to shoot off his mouth, and this whole thing led to a big fight, which somehow had Jinder Mahal standing over a laid out Bobby Roode and Randy Orton, which I'm sorry, in real life, that would only happen if he slugged them with crowbars. The New Day came out to celebrate Fat Tuesday, which is the day before Ash Wednesday, for those of you who don't know, with an attempt by Big E to break the record for eating pancakes for some reason that, I'm like, okay, yay, I guess. And this brings out Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable to be like, oh, you're making a big mockery of things and we're serious and we're more important because we're serious. No, you're actually not. You're really not. I mean, the New Day is better looking and they're more entertaining, and I'd rather watch them than watch you. So there's that. Which leads to a match, and a match that the New Day wins via pinfall. Which brings us to Sami Zayn versus Dolph Ziggler. I'm sorry, are we supposed to be cheering? I'm sorry, before we got to that, we had the whole thing with the TV in the back, and the whole wrestlers watching stuff in the back on a monitor deal, and they were running a promo for the Usos, which earned the ire of the Bludgeon Brothers, who decided to take it out on the poor TV set. Then we had the match with Sami Zayn versus Dolph Ziggler, and Ziggler managed to win that. So now it's going to be, apparently it's going to be Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and AJ Styles and what? Okay, so basically, this is going to be an enormous, either it's going to be a lot of fun or it's going to be a complete clusterfuck. I'm not entirely sure which. But I guess we'll have to wait and see at Fastlane. So, I hope you enjoyed my show this week, and I hope that you will check out the other shows that are part of our little family here, our little PNR Network family. Those would include my other podcast, Platinum Rose's Garden. If you are a fan of the CW show Supernatural, which I am, I have a show called Platinum Rose's Garden, which is all about Supernatural. I do an episode recap and talk about the show and other Supernatural news and all kinds of things like that. You can check it out over at PlatinumRosesGarden.com. We have Subject Cinema, which is TC and I doing our movie podcast. We've been doing it for over a decade. We have a lot of fun, talk about movies and movie news and reviews and all kinds of crazy things like that over at SubjectCinema.com. TC has several solo shows as well, 2 mini shows, Tuesday Digidex and 3-Day Weekend. which are his shows that look at new releases for the week in theaters, on DVD, on cable, so you can plan out what you want to do for the week. He has his own solo show, Catastrophe Vortex, because he is a disaster movie junkie and I am not. So he likes to talk about stuff that falls down, blows up, or, goes boom. You can check that out over on his show. And we have other members of our family that we're very happy are out there as well, including Eric and Valerie, the Lion family, who have Cavebabble, which is their show, and they're really great people, and I hope you'll check them out. And Aunt Bee and Pee Wee over at Comic Grotto, two really fun people that do a great show. They're very passionate about comics, and I hope you'll check them out as well. We also have a project that we being everybody involved in our little family at PNRNetworks, we all got involved in this, and we're very, very pleased to present Manhattan Hammerdown. For those of you who have not listened to this show yet, it is a fan production of other things that were happening the night 10 years ago that something came ashore in New York. It is looking at the events of the J.J. Abrams movie Cloverfield from the view of other people in New York that we didn't see during the movie. It was a real labor of love. It's really, if I can brag about this because I'm not bragging about me, I'm bragging about him. TC put a lot of work and a lot of effort in producing it, and everybody that we know that are part of the show did great jobs doing the recording, so hopefully you will check out Manhattan Hammerdown. And if you like our shows, like, save, subscribe, and tell people about us. We'd love people to come listen to our shows. And I would love to hear from you guys if you have any comments or questions or queries or money or chocolate or anything else you want to send my way. You can send that. You can send me any email you'd like to platinumroselle@yahoo.com. And that is going to do it for another week here on Ring Around the Rosie. I hope everybody out there has a great rest of your week. And this is Platinum Rose Lady, a.k.a. Kim Brown, signing off for another week. Cheers, and have a great week. Happy Valentine's Day.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.